Welcome to the Maude Podcast, the Maude Debrief.
This is your smart girl's guide to anything branding, marketing, business, and life.
Today we have here our favorite PR goddess, Cris Gordon. So, for anyone here who hasn't met her or who hasn't met her through one of her events during the Gilded Dinner series, Cris Gordon is actually a beauty industry leader, founder of CB Communications and Chief Brand Officer and Head of MMC Beauty. With more than 17 years of experience across agency and in house communications, she has worked with many leading brands while also advising emerging founder led indie brands. A first generation Dominican woman and mother of four.
My proudest title.
Yes. Cris founded CB Communications in 2017 to bring a more strategic, human centered approach to PR and brand building. Today, she leads MMC Beauty, helping brands build cultural relevance, trust, and long term growth, while also serving as the voice behind Brandedly Speaking, a platform empowering more women, modern marketers, and founders. Okay. Is there anything I've missed from that?
Oh my gosh, no, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a guest today. You know how much I love all of you and all of the work that you do.
Thank you so much. I think our audience are just pretty much so excited to hear more from you because for everyone who's unable to get tickets on our Gilded Dinner series, Cris actually was a host and was a speaker in one of our dinners last year, November, right?
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to have her again and host her again in the Philippines.
It was such a beautiful experience and what a special night. And it was so wonderful meeting everybody and like locally being there and experiencing the culture and getting to just bring a little bit of like my flair. I can be very different and I have a very unique approach to PR and all things building a personal brand, an executive presence, a brand that you're maybe building on CPG, lifestyle, beauty, fashion. So it just gets me excited to be able to like bring those skills into the world in different ways. And truly to have that experience be global meant so much to me. So I also thank you for the honor of getting to have that experience because that trip was life-changing. It was so amazing. I couldn't even believe it. I mean, if anyone's considering any of the beautiful retreats or events that you do and you're on the fence, I mean, take the leap. You got to do it. You got to be there. They're unbelievable. You guys do such a good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much. For anyone who hasn't been to the Philippines, I think it's such a mysterious country to be in. Like for people who hasn't traveled that far, it's like such a leap, it's such a huge decision to travel 20 plus hours, on a plane.
And you're missing out though if you don't. Because it's like I feel like it's this like hidden gem.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. I was so my eyes were open for the first I called my husband. I was like, "You're not going to believe this." Everything about it, like being in Manila and then going over to Boracay, like it was just unbelievable and everyone was so wonderful and so nice and so welcoming. And I just feel like and what was exciting about even the crowd the night of the dinner is that they were so eager to learn.
Yeah.
Right? Like so open to learning, really invested in themselves and wanting to make all of these like positive transformations in their lives. And I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to PR, personal brand, or any type of growth, the biggest challenge you'll always have is getting over the fact that you're going to need to make some type of change or take some type of big leap or some type of step. And it might feel scary, but everything worthwhile sits on the other side of that fear.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see people maybe step out of their comfort zone.
I know.
Some people stepped up and like actually practiced in front of everybody.
I know.
Right? It was a big deal. It was a big deal. So I was very proud of everyone.
I know, and it's such a wonderful space to be in because we're always traveling. The team of Maude, we're always in the U.S., like experiencing all these events, and it's so nice to bring a piece of the U.S., bring a PR goddess all the way to the Philippines because I feel like in the Philippines there's if not very limited resource for speakers and for experts like you. So we're very much hungry for new information, for new insights, for new suggestions on new ways to do things, right? So now before we dive deeper onto that, let's take us back to the beginning. Okay. What pulled you into PR and eventually led you to build your own firm?
So, it's funny because I think about this question a lot. There were so many things that really like pushed me into PR. I didn't actually know what it was in the beginning. I went to school for English literature thinking I was going to be a lawyer because I just wanted to make a positive impact in people's lives. And I I kind of like found and stumbled upon what the word PR actually meant through a lot of my different intern experiences. But when I was younger, I grew up in a very predominantly white town. My dad is from Dominican Republic, and so I'm a first generation Dominican. And when I would walk around CVS at like 13 years old, I wouldn't see myself reflected in any of the brands, right? So it's like you're walking around, you don't know what to use on your hair, you don't know what shade of foundation to get. And as a young girl, that like really shaped my perception about beauty. And when I was inside of the home with my dad and my mom, it's like they would tell me, oh, Cris, you could be anything you want to be. Like the world is yours. And I'm so lucky to have had that upbringing that made me feel so confident. But when you step out inside, like outside of the world, you are kind of shaped by what people tell you or what society tells you in some way. And it just made me realize the older I got and the more I gained perspective that brands have such a big responsibility in shaping the way that people feel about themselves, right? And so if you can be a brand that can help somebody feel the best about themselves, or you can make a positive impact in some way, wouldn't you want to be a part of making the world better? And I think that the beauty industry specifically has a really bold responsibility to do that because beauty standards are shaped by what they are putting out there in marketing.
Yes.
And so for me, getting into the world of beauty, that was kind of where I first stepped into PR. It always felt like kind of a very natural love of mine because I was so interested in beauty brands. I was so interested in like what made them tick. I always wanted to know the story behind the scenes, right? When I was using a product, I was always like, I wonder like who's formulating the product and who's making this. And then when I'd like read about it in magazines or I'd see the ad campaigns, it's like, I want to make a change. I want to be able to like help them build that brand differently. And so I went to LA for an internship where I was actually on the other side, on the editorial side. I was ghostwriting. I was writing for like the Kardashians blogs. So I was ghostwriting in their voice for like Kylie and Kendall and Kim. And I was attending events and I would wait online to, tell them my name to get on the list. And I was like, who's making the list? I want to be the one making the list.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's the publicist. And I was like, oh, what's a publicist? And I was like, I want to be that. And so from there, I just went and got internships in PR and kind of learned what it meant to be a publicist. And I naturally segued into beauty. And then as the years went on, it was really an honor to be able to work with some of the biggest, most iconic brands. I mean, like the Revlons, the Almays of the world. I mean, I've worked with all of the biggest brands. And then I got the opportunity to work with indie brands. When I started my agency, I worked with like Glossier and founder-led brands have so much heart, right?
Yeah.
And there's just a completely different approach that you take when there's a founder at the helm and there is a different story that you're able to share from their voice. And truly, like my deepest love is storytelling. And so, I kind of was able to bring that expertise into my career throughout all of it. And now I've really honed in on that as our specialty is like beauty, executive brands, founders, and helping brands and people tell their story.
Yeah.
And so it's been a really exciting journey.
Now, that's such an interesting part how you actually shape the narrative of the clients that you're bringing in, the brands that you're bringing in, and like, amplifying into the world, right? The messaging, because messaging is power and storytelling is power. And that's actually a core part of what you do, right? A core part of your practice as a PR and as a publicist, as a PR goddess and as a publicist. So, was there a moment early in your career where you realized that the right story actually changes everything?
So there was many moments in my career. I mean, I think that when you are in the industry of PR, you see so many people get on camera, you're evaluating it all the time. You're also not just looking at your own clients, but you're looking at the landscape in general. Who's doing things really well, who's not doing things well, and why aren't they doing well? I always have a very like analytical mind. I kind of assess everything. I'm very observational. And what I notice the most is that there could be the best brand or the best founders, but if they fall flat, no one cares. No one buys their product. And unfortunately, I've seen the rise and fall of so many brands because of that. And it had me thinking, okay, what is it that's really happening that's challenging this brand to get the visibility that it deserves? And what I noticed is that when they don't have a clear story, people don't know who they are, what they stand for, what the brand stands for. And so maybe the story isn't resonating with them. It's not converting in some way to loyalty. It's not just about sales, right? We need to convert people into loyal fans, into loyal believers, into loyal followers in some sense of the journey that you're on, right? Because they want to support brands where they can understand where the brand is going and why it got there and feel like they're a part of it, especially now, right? Like what I've noticed is that the more and more over the years, what we're seeing is that the emotion behind the why is really critical in people feeling like they want to invest their dollars, right? Their dollar needs to go further now.
Yes.
And so they want to make sure where their dollar is going is somewhere where they feel like they're supporting something that they really believe in. So I think that's like kind of where I saw this challenge in, oh man, if they don't get it right, it could be like the downfall of such a great brand. And what a shame to work so hard and to
On
grind.
product, yes.
And then for it to go nowhere. And you could have a great product, but if you don't have a story, if you don't have a presence around it, if you don't have a plan, the world doesn't see it. Then you don't really have a brand, you know?
Exactly. So you actually mentioned a lot about founder-led brands, right? Like how people actually follow founders before anything else, before the story, before the product. And one thing that we noticed actually during our brand audit sessions yesterday during the event is that a lot of people spend so much time on product building, research, which of course they should, and as they should, right? But they forget their messaging, they forget their story, they forget to communicate their lived experience on how they were even able to develop this story. How do you translate that, and how do you say that to your clients?
I mean, listen, nowadays, having a good product is literally status quo. You have to. You have to have a good product for it to make it anyway. And if you don't, then the brand's not going to succeed in the long term regardless because the consumer is just too smart. They want to invest in good product. And even if you kind of BS your story, but you don't have a good product, it doesn't really matter in the end because you need to have that good product. So to me, that is like, let's just level set with work hard on your products because it's going to matter. But don't expect that the product is going to do all the heavy lifting, right? Because the people are going to expect that it's a good product or else they're going to ditch you and they're going to go on to the next thing. Now, when it comes to having an executive presence or a personal brand or investing in their messaging, it is, to me, one of the most critical aspects of building a brand because especially now, even in the more recent years, in the last like 1 to 2 years, we're seeing that change even more. The emotion behind why you built it. I always say, like, start with your why. Why did you build it?
Yes.
Why does this need to be out there? Let's be honest. Everyone's attention span is like a goldfish, right? It's like they're like, oh my God, tree, ball, this. Like it's like you can hardly keep their attention. And so you need to be able to resonate with them and build an emotional story that makes them feel like they know you or that they want to root for you or that they want to be a part of what you're building.
Yes.
And so I always say to founders, there needs to be a mission. And listen, a mission statement is not a new thing, right? Brands should always have a mission statement. But I think what I really try to go deeper on, especially in the founder work, is a mission statement for yourself can also be different from a mission statement from your brand. Yes, there should be parallels. Of course there should. But you need to understand who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. And not only will that help build your brand, but let's be honest, that's going to get you through a lot of like the dark nights of wondering why you built this and if it's worth it, or the challenges of investing and or raising money and all of the things that you're kind of going through. I mean, I've been there. I've been a founder. It's like you question whether you're doing it.
Is it worth it?
Oh my God, you question it all day.
Because at
please.
the end of the day, if you're a founder, it's your life. It's becoming your life.
It's
like,
you and the product, you and the
Yes.
brand are one.
yes.
Right? Like
Exactly.
And there's not so much separation. So everything you take things a little bit more personally. Like, and also you feel like if something isn't doing well, you kind of have this like internalization of, am I not doing a good job? So because there is a whole nother psychology behind a founder-led brand that we have to consider, well, then the story and the emotion that we build around it has to really have that deep kind of connection point to the founder
Yes.
and their why, so that when the audience is hearing it or when the marketing materials are coming out or when they're meeting people or they're going on stage or they're in a podcast interview, they can properly express the why without it feeling like all over the place and frustrated. I mean, I even think of myself, for example. It's like, why did I get into PR? And really it's because I had a little girl that was walking around CVS wondering if she was beautiful. and thinking about how the brands were making me feel like I either wasn't or that I didn't fit in. And I wanted to make the world a better place. And storytelling was a way that I felt like I could do that. I always loved telling stories. I always loved writing. I always loved talking. And if I could be a part of a change that would help other young girls not feel the way that I felt, then I'm doing my job. If I could be a part of a change that helped founders feel more confident or brands succeed so that they can make a bigger impact in the world, and then I became a mom and it like doubled down. It's like if I could build a world where my kids could go out and not feel a certain way just because of bad marketing or bad branding or bad communications, well, then I'm doing my job. And so I think that that story of your why is so important. So really you want to ask yourself, like, what was that moment or what was that thing or what was the impetus for why you chose to go down this road? And not only is it going to be great for your brand communications, but it also will be great for you when you're sitting in the darkness at 3:00 in the morning, looking over your P&L and wondering like, is this all worth it? Right? You can bring yourself back to that why and you can navigate out of that.
That's such a beautiful thing and perspective to see, right? Because for me as a founder as well, there are a lot of sleepless nights that I wonder, is this even worth it? You know? And when you said, I just want to make a positive impact. For me, I've worked in corporate for such a long time as well. And, I've worked in a lot of industries, e-commerce, education platforms. I've worked in a lot of startups as well. And just to share, I've had this, existential crisis a few years ago before starting Maude, where I questioned myself, is this marketing work even worth it? Because I felt like I was selling lies. I felt like, and I shared this during our very, very first Maude method, the reason why I started Maude is because I wanted to make a positive impact in the marketing industry as well. Because I felt like my work before was I was making people buy things they don't need with the money they don't have, right? And we are in a third world country, so access to capital, access to, financial viability and financial independence is so much harder. So it was like a wake up call for me. Like, what do I want to promote? What do I want to use my brain cells for, right? And you said, I can actually use my skills to a positive impact to the world. And, it's just like for me, I'm also learning and consuming what you're saying, right? And I'm sure all of the people in our audience are going to be so excited to hear about this because it's such a huge different light to see marketing in, because a lot of people would see marketing, it's just okay, it's a hard sell. It's another money grab brand. But when you're down to your why, when you're down to your North Star, when you're down to how do you make a positive impact in your community, I think that's what really sells a brand.
Definitely.
And that's what sustains the brand, right? Because if you have a solid community, if you have a solid why, and the people who believe in you, they're going to follow you along the way.
And not just the consumer. Let's be mindful of the fact that when you as a founder know your why, you've done the work to understand your message, or you've built your branding, your team, the people that actually work for the company are going to be so clear on the mission, and they're going to buy in so much. They're going to work so hard. They're going to feel so appreciated because they're really a part of that journey. And so not only is it helpful for the consumer, like I built my agency very people first, right? I wanted to have a team that was hungry and creative and felt like they were excited to go to work every day because listen, I know the grind. It's like, wake up every morning, you're like, I don't want to go to work. So I was like, no, I'm going to build an agency where people want to go to work, right? And they're excited and they're like feeling so creative about the projects we get to do, because what's going to happen? The client is going to be serviced the best, and I want the best service, right? And how do you get the best service? The best people and the most excited people. Sometimes you can have all the talent in the world. If they're not happy, it doesn't matter because they're not going to do the job that you need them to do, right? Because they're going to feel lackluster. And so you have to remember that when you're doing all this work, the dots are so connected. It's not just the consumer buying in, but it's your team buying in, right? It's your vendors buying in, any of your partners buying in, right? Everyone's going to be willing to kind of support you. And I feel like, and I'm very lucky in the fact that I think because I've been such a vulnerable leader, I've been very open about my journey and my why. And I love to take people along for the ride. I mean, my team has seen the ups and the downs of Cris Gordon, and they've been brought along for like the challenges that I had when I had my agency. And every time we would meet, and talk about any challenge we were facing or how we needed to grow and scale the business, and I was honest about the goals that we have and the why, they like rallied and they were more bought in, and I had so much support around me. I mean, I've had the most supportive network ever, and I feel like that's a testament to the fact that for me, I really practice what I preach, right? It's like share your story, be open about it, and that it's okay. Vulnerability in a company, vulnerability in leadership, vulnerability in some way, shape, or form is such an authentic way to connect, especially today in a world of AI and so much technology. It's just going back to like that human center.
Yeah.
And so the story should go back to that human center.
You know, funny things, you mentioned two things that I really, really resonate with. One is that you have to make a team that's happy at the end of the day, right? Like when you're building a company, it's important that your company, that your business, and that the people that's running your business for you are well maintained, right? Because a lot of people, a lot of agencies, and I think this is not just for the Philippines, but I think globally, you know, the culture for independent agencies and marketing agencies in general is that we take on so much, right? And there's, you know, burnout. So when you mention that, you know, at the end of the day, you take them on a journey and you make sure that they have sort of like a work-life balance as well, and that they're happy, because when they're happy, your clients are going to be happy. So when you think about, because for me, like when I was starting Mod, I thought to myself, I wanted to build something I wanted to become a part of when I was younger, right? Because when you're pivoting, when you're building your brand, when you're building your business, it's so easy to get lost in the hustle and not think about other people, because you're always focused on your goal. And as type A people, right? Like we want to make sure, okay, we're earning X amount of dollars, X amount of money. Like I'm reaching the financial targets for my investor, for this person, or for my personal goal, right? And you forget, okay, are they even surviving? Like, are the people behind you even surviving? I just received a message from one of my employees actually the other day, and she mentioned something along the lines of, "Tin, you know, I'm having a hard time with this, but I'm powering through. I know it's very important for us to grow, etc., etc." And I just told myself, "Oh my God, she's 22. She's 22. When I was 22, I was burnt out, but I was making so much, you know, effort to please my boss, my manager, and I was burning out. I was, you know, working from 4 a.m. to 3 a.m. the next day. I was practically sleeping in the office, and I don't want to do that, you know, to other people." And how did you even, for you, for example, since you built, you know, CB Communications and you pivoted to corporate, like how was that transition?
It's a change. I mean, let's be honest. We have to be the reality behind having your own business and then transitioning into a corporate environment.
Because you built the culture, right?
Yes. And it's hard because then you go into a new environment where while my team and my clients came with me, you still have to adapt to a different culture.
Yes.
The reason why, though, I had chose that was the right home for us was because I got to know the culture over a series of months. And I knew that the culture and the belief system and kind of the foundation had very similar values as to mine. And so I really did that diligence to make sure that it was the right place for us. And so I think that's really critical when you're factoring in like what does your exit look like in general, or where do you want to be? And this goes for anybody looking for their career, their next step, or their pivot. You should do your diligence, do your homework, make sure that it's really right, make sure that they're aligned. It's being mission aligned, being values aligned is so critical. And so for me, the CEO really believes that human are the center and the environment, while there's a lot of changes from the corporate side, because it's so different, right? I mean, you're at a huge organization where there's so many, there's a lot of red tape and there's so many different steps that you have to take. When you're in a small business, it's like you're like a little speedboat. You know, you can, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go here. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go there. This is a totally different process. But process aside, the actual foundation remained the same, right? We want to do great work and we want to have people that are happy and feel appreciated. And so I knew that some of the biggest changes would just come from like the day to day and how different that would be. But that ultimately at the foundation of it all, it really was aligned with how we and what we stood for as a brand and what I stood for as a founder, you know? And so I think that when navigating kind of what type of a company you want to work for, what type of a boss you want to work for, you really have to ask yourself. And it's okay to like interview them back and ask like, what are the values here? What are your values? What do you think is really important? And to get that answer back and to understand and then kind of like sit with it and say, you know what, is this going to work for me? And, there's benefits to being in that corporate environment. I was really excited about joining because we also have access to so many more people, so many more fantastic resources. I mean, the talent that is there is so wonderful, and now we get to be a part of it. So I feel really excited and honored about that. But at the end of the day, that kind of consistency in how we are showing up made a really big difference. I was like, I will not come over and then be someone I'm not. I have to be myself, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that's like who I am. Plus, I would never be able to lie. I'm like, I'm so Cris, like you know what you're going to get. That's like, you're going to get like a loud, very honest, very transparent person who's very intense. Like I work my ass off. I am like, you will not have a better team member by your side, but also like that's very different for certain environments. So it's like, I needed them to know like, this is who I am and there's no way I'm going to be able to change. Mm-hmm. I will learn different ways of working, different styles because I will have to. But ultimately, I need you to make sure that this is the right thing for you too. And when I bring my team over, my clients over, we have to be able to like work in the same ways that we're used to because it's also what my entire reputation was built on, right? Servicing my clients in the best way possible, being able to be available for them. And they were so on board and embraced it. And I think actually it's made even more positive changes within the organization in general. And we've learned a lot from them. So I think it's just there's so much to learn in these situations. And my advice is just always be open to the possibilities. Make sure that it feels right. If something in your gut is telling you it's not, listen to that because that's, your values and your missions kind of like where that gut instinct is too.
Agree with you. And I'm so happy that you were able to find a perfect match. Honestly, I mean, I feel like nobody's perfect, right? There's still adjustments and tweaks that you have to make, but the best kind of like partnership is someone that you have to share a common heart.
I think having like being at a place, and you always have to ask yourself in anything, whether you're building a brand, whether you're figuring out exiting your company, or whether you're taking a corporate leap somewhere, will this get me to my next step, right? Like I had a very clear mission when I was younger. I wanted to build brands and help brands and people tell their stories so that they can make an impact in the world. Mm-hmm. Could I do that at CB? Did I need another platform? And when I was evaluating what steps to take, the big question, my husband was actually the one that brought it up to me because I knew my why. And he knew my why because I was so vocal about it when I was really going back and forth on, is this the right thing? CB's my baby and all the emotional stuff. He said, well, you had a very clear mission when you started CB and when you started your career. And that was to be able to impact the world through storytelling. Will you be able to do this at a higher level if you have more resources and more access to things? And he's like, and if the answer is yes, then you continue on your journey. And so that allows you to make hard decisions, right? Like it was hard to make a decision to like leave behind a company that I built and take the next step for the company. It's like, is this the right time? It's like any founder is going to face some type of big moment where they have to make a decision. And the why is what kind of keeps you grounded. It keeps you like, okay. So I knew that by joining MMC, building MMC Beauty and all of our thought leaders, it would allow us to give them more resources. It would allow us as a team to have more resources so that we can do our job even better and that we would be able to make an even bigger impact. So it was kind of like the next stage on the journey. And so it's really helpful to have that kind of mission in your personal brand too.
It's very interesting that you're also sharing your journey actually, right? You're sharing your journey as a founder, like as an overworker on social media. Was this very intentional also?
Yes. I mean, I used to like share just like my kids and it wasn't as intentional. And it was great because like, I mean, my Instagram used to be like just like my friends. And then I knew that I needed to, especially when I started considering what does it look like for my business next, I knew I needed to invest in my own personal brand, which is why the work that you guys do is so important because to me, the second I started to invest in my personal brand and let the world know who I was and what I stood for out loud versus just the people in my close network that knew me and got to know me at a conference or wherever, everything changed. Everything changed. I thought I was going to exit my business at like 10 years. I exited way sooner. I mean, I was having conversations almost within 6 months of when I started to show up differently on social, that would have never happened if I didn't just open the door to showcasing my personal brand in a different way. And so I take everyone along for the ride. I think I've always been honest and transparent. I was just able to really be intentional about how I show that honesty and transparency on social media. It's like, for me, what does it take to really build a business? What does it take to grow a brand? And how do you do it all while raising a family? And that is like what I stand for, right? And I think the thing that we have to remember is the dots that it connects is I want to inspire people. If I can make an impact because a woman sees that she can have a family, she can grow a business, she can build a brand that changes the world, even with one person, it's like, great. That's all a part of my job, right? That's why I do what I do. So even though it's hard sometimes to like show the ins and outs of your life, or it's hard maybe for some people to get on camera and talk, people don't like seeing themselves on camera.
I hate it.
Yeah, people really don't like it. They're like, Cris, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, but imagine that one person that heard your story. Imagine just one. Just pretend that you're talking to one human being and they changed their life because of what they heard from you. Would you be as scared? Or would you be excited about the chance to change their life? Right?
I know.
So it's just a shift in perspective.
I think you just answered the last question that I had, right? Because my last question was empowering women, especially mothers, is central to your message and to your brand, right? Why do you believe women who are juggling everything are often the most unstoppable?
That's a great question. You know, when you're a mom and when you're trying to figure out how you're going to like nurse your baby or feed your baby or wake up in the middle of the night and then wake up and get dressed and go to work or put the kids out to the bus or go to that PTA meeting, on top of building a business, on top of going to work or trying to figure out how to run the household, your brain is working in a completely different capacity. And if you allow yourself to recognize the power that you have because you are superhuman to be able to handle all of that. Whether you decided to grow a business or whether you decided to stay home full time with your children to run that household, the capacity that women have in general is outstanding. And so my biggest goal is just for women to understand that they are completely superhuman and that the things that you are capable of are so far beyond your wildest dreams. And if you don't chase after your dreams like you're freaking running from a fire, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you have the capacity to change your life just by looking fear right in the eyes and saying, I'm going to do it anyway. And so I really want women to be able to either see me or any of the other amazing people that are in my network and say, you know what, I think because they did it, like maybe I can try. And if they then try and they show themselves a different version of themselves that they didn't think was possible, then little by little, they're going to start to take those steps and they will live a virtually unrecognizable life in a year, in 2 years, in 8 years. You have the ability to change everything just by believing in yourself. And so I think that for me, I want all women to realize that believing in yourself is like the best superpower of all.
That's so beautiful. And that is such a good way to end the podcast episode, right? So before we end our podcast episodes, actually, we end it with a complete the sentence thing. So, for example, my name is Tin. I'm the founder and CEO of Maude Labs, and I'm very grateful for having you and talking to you and for the past 30 minutes or so. And how about you?
Okay, I'm Cris Gordon. I am the head of MMC Beauty and podcast host of Brandedly Speaking. And I'm very grateful to be here and for the relationship that I have with you and with Maude and with all of the wonderful people that I've gotten to meet because I've been able to be a part of your world and your network. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, every time I see you in an event, I just feel so safe and so seen. Like whether it be an event in LA or in New York, like we've seen each other in all the places that we've attended, and I just feel so happy, like seeing you and
I feel the same way.
conquering the world, right? Like I'm just so proud of how much you've grown also, like for the past few years. And I'm sure you've seen me also with the very timid, shy girl.
I'm so proud of you. I know it's not easy. Listen, like it's not easy to build a business. It's not easy to like stand up for what you believe in and continue to do it, and to manage a team and to grow a business and to scale and to think about all the services. I mean, people don't understand that behind the scenes, there's a lot of little work that goes into all the choices that people make when they're building brands, but you should be proud. And if anyone's listening and they're starting to, navigate the world of building their brand or climbing the corporate ladder or figuring out what they want to do next, one step at a time. You're going to get there. Just believe in yourself.
Thank you. Okay, for anyone who wants to follow Cris, would you like to promote?
Yes. So I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram, Cris Gordon PR, and Cris is CRIS, or at Brandedly Speaking, Brandedly_speaking.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear more episodes from Cris in her podcast, so stay tuned. For more information about anything branding, marketing, business, and life, visit modlabs.com. See you in our next episode. Bye.